Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People Story. Man, let me tell you, I never thought living in a neighborhood with an homeowner association would cause me so many problems. But ever since Deborah became president last year, it's like she's on a power trip or something. I bought my house 3 years ago because I loved how peaceful the neighborhood was. All the folks who lived here got along great. We'd share gardening tips, borrow each other's tools, help with chores if someone was sick or hurt. It felt like family. Then Deborah moved in down the block last summer. Right away, she started campaigning to become Homeowner Association Prez. She marched up and down the street, chatting everyone's ear off about upholding standards and maintaining property values. Half the neighbors didn't even know we had an homeowner association, but enough people got roped in by her promises that she won the election. After that, it was like she made it her personal mission to be the neighborhood nightmare. Every tiny little infraction got a warning letter. Grass grown half an inch too long, $50 fine. Trash can left at the curb a day late, $25 fine. Not enough pink geraniums in the front flower bed. Good luck guessing that fine. Most of us just ignored her notices, but a few folks got scared and did whatever she said. That just fed Deborah's power trip more. She started mandating neighborhood beautification projects that we all had to participate in, like pulling invasive plant species whether we wanted to or not. Said it was for the greater good of the community aesthetics. Her crowning achievement was convincing half the block to cough up thousands to resod the common areas with plush Bermuda sod. Never mind that it died within a month from lack of water. She had her fancy grass, and that's all that mattered. If you asked me, she was on a permanent vacation from reality. Everything came to a head a few weeks ago when Deborah sent out an urgent directive, scheduling a mandatory homeowner association meeting for last Thursday at 6 p.m. sharp. Said it was about new guidelines for optimum neighborhood cohesion. Fat chance. We all knew it was just another ploy for her to steamroll new rules past us. The thing is, I had to work late that night finishing up a big project. Even called my boss at 5:30 to double check I still had overtime approved till 7:30. But you better believe Deborah was not having it when I didn't show for her imperative assembly. The next morning, there's a banging at my door at the crack of dawn. I throw it open, still half asleep, and there's 3 cop cars and 5 officers surrounding my front porch. My heart leapt into my throat as one of the cops said they had a report of criminal activity and a hostage situation at my address. They pushed their way inside, guns drawn, flipping over furniture and yelling orders like they were raiding a drug lab. I just stood there stunned as they tore through every room, finding nothing but dirty laundry and old pizza boxes. One of the younger officers finally spoke to me, saying they received an anonymous tip that a large-scale disturbance was occurring. As the cops started to realize they'd been duped, one of the neighbors came out and told them that Deborah, the homeowner association president, made the bogus cops call when I didn't show up for her meeting last night. You should have seen the looks on the officers' faces when they learned the truth. They were not happy about getting swatted over an homeowner association dispute. I was livid. This crazy broad had the cops bust into my home with rifles out, all because I missed her stupid meeting. I immediately filed a complaint with the police and our local court about Deborah's dangerous prank. Turns out swatting is a felony offense, especially when it puts an innocent person's life at risk. Deborah played dumb at first, denying everything. But after the police confiscated her phone records as evidence, it was crystal clear she had made the cops call from her number just minutes after the meeting ended. The judge was not impressed one bit with her behavior. In the end, Deborah got charged with a Class E felony and had to pay almost $10,000 in fines and restitution. On top of that, she was barred from holding any homeowner association leadership role for at least 5 years. As for me, it took a few months, but I was finally able to sell my house and get out of this neighborhood from hell. Good riddance to Miss Control Freak. I ain't looking back. The next one is a pro-revenge story. My former boss was, simply put, an absolute jerk. He was the type of person who had the ability to be condescending while acting as if he was doing you a favor. His condescending attitude was sometimes outright abusive, and he seemed to have a particular problem with all of the female employees, acting as if they were unintelligent and needed assistance with every step. He loved to scream at people, regardless of how minor their mistake was, if there even was one. He was a demanding boss and expected everyone to sacrifice their personal lives for their job. The thing that sparked this revenge was him telling me to miss my older sister's birthday to come into work on a day that I had already booked off. No one liked him. My colleagues and I in the department, around 10 of us, couldn't stand having him around anymore. So we followed the protocol. All of us gathered the evidence we had of him not adhering to booked-off holiday schedules and using inappropriate and sometimes abusive language. We compiled it all into one Google Doc. This was step 1. Step 2 involved adding a cherry on top. We did this by getting him to have one of his screaming tantrums at one of us. We wanted this to be as damning as possible, and the youngest and smallest girl among us volunteered to be the bait. She deliberately made a beginner's mistake in her paperwork, something bound to provoke his anger, and the fool took the bait. You see, he liked to deliver his scoldings in front of all of us to prove a point or rule by fear, as he called it. This gave us the perfect opportunity to film it from behind our desks and add it to the Google Doc. Now, in our company, there's this poorly made email system. You can send an email to an entire department, and I mean entire, as long as you have its name and manager's name. The thing about this was that all of this information was completely and freely given to employees, which means that a person could send whatever email they wanted to the entire company, including the CEO. So one morning at 10 a.m., to ensure that as many people would be working as possible, we created a burner email and sent the Google Doc through an email to everyone in the company. It took a little while, as there were many departments to get through, but we eventually got there. We gave the email the subject, boss's name, vital information, branch name, department name. Of course, our boss received the email as well, and you could practically hear the chaos from his office as people all over the company contacted him to ask what the hell this was about. HR conducted a mild investigation into him and took heavy disciplinary action. As far as I know, he wasn't directly fired, but instead resigned. A month after that, we never saw him again, and he was replaced by a new guy who was also unpleasant, but just less so. His expressions during the whole ordeal helped me sleep at night. The next one is a petty revenge story. I worked at a lumber company in a somewhat questionable area of a city. It wasn't completely awful, but it wasn't uncommon for a drug raid to target homes in that neighborhood. Our properties were split on the corners of 4 blocks, so we often had to cross streets to get around. On the border of 2 of our yards were a series of apartments, with more apartments beyond that. We had a cardboard paper recycling dumpster outside our warehouse that someone's started filling with bags of trash, 1 or 2 a week, which I emptied out and threw away. It was annoying and wasn't worth my time doing anything about. Until the Monday I came in and the recycling dumpster was packed full of garbage. There was something like a dozen or so large contractor-type cleanup bags filled. That was it for me. I spent the next hour pulling the bags out and going through the contents. I found what I was hoping for. Personal information. I found a utility bill with a name and address. I was 2 blocks away, an apartment. I walked down there to check it out. It was a 2nd floor unit with a deck/balcony in front of the door. Nobody was home, or at least they didn't answer the door when I knocked. I walked back to work, got a pallet, and loaded all of the refilled garbage bags back onto it and shrink-wrapped the whole thing for stability. Got on a forklift, grabbed a coworker, and we drove down to the apartment. Up the pallet went to the 2nd floor. We climbed the steps and unloaded all of the bags onto the small landing, effectively blocking someone from getting in or out easily. Never did hear anything about that from anyone. The next one is a malicious compliance story. I worked for a company with great pay and benefits, one of which was vacation days. I worked there for years without any performance or attendance issues. I was also an employee who would not work overtime. I give 100% while I'm there. That's all I have to offer. Other than that, no issues. Each year, I'd pre-planned my vacation days. We had to put our plans on a calendar for approval, and I wanted to receive my approval before confirming my plans, so I did everything as early as possible. I had no vacation request problems for years, and did not hear of other employees having issues with their vacation time pay. Then, one year, all of a sudden, after using all but 4 of my vacation days, management said I had no additional paid vacation time. I reviewed our online handbook, gathered my requested and approved time off, and checked my check stubs to verify the paid vacation days I'd taken thus far. I presented everything to management for research. My direct manager said he checked, and I didn't have 4 additional vacation days. That wasn't good enough, so I asked him to forward it to his manager. His manager said the same thing. That wasn't good enough. Eventually, my concerns reached the center manager. The center manager called me into a meeting. I again presented my findings, showing I had 4 unused vacation days left. He then began discussing changes to our vacation policy while making eye contact and smiling. He turned his computer around to show me the new handbook they constructed reflecting the new vacation policy. Wait a minute, what? There is an online employee handbook, yet I am supposed to go by a new handbook not known to employees. Make that make sense. I politely said okay and walked out. I removed my 4 days from the vacation calendar. I then began chatting with other employees to see the number of days they had taken for that year and the number of days they might have left. Conversations like, "How was your vacation? How long did you stay? Are you choosing a different place to spend the rest of your vacation days?" Asking these and related questions allowed me to calculate the number of vacation days they used or had remaining. I did not find one other employee having my issue with vacation time. I waited a couple of months and filed a lawsuit while working there. Other employees did not know about my lawsuit, at least not from me, but I'm sure management knew. The lawsuit, discovery process, revealed an email chain. The email chain showed the center manager directly asking Human Resources about my 4 unused vacation days, and Human Resources confirming I had 4 unused vacation days. The center manager used a fictitious new handbook to cover his and other management actions, denying my unused vacation time. Shortly after that, we settled, and they paid thousands for 4 unused vacation days. I had to resign, of course, and the center manager and other management lost their positions, retired, or quit. All I wanted was my unused paid vacation time, but what I received was much more. The next one is an entitled people story. Last year, my girlfriend and I decided to attend a family Christmas festivity, despite not feeling like it and knowing better. It was my side of the family, by the way. My now late mother insisted that we should go because the family had organized a big party and would also provide dinner. She thought it would be a fun distraction for us, especially since we hadn't gone out for dinner the entire year despite wanting to. Now the event itself was more fun than I would have given it credit for. We had enjoyable interactions with some cousins and their spouses, and overall, we had a good time. The incident. The problem started during dinner when it was announced that there would be a huge fireworks display at the end of the party, organized by 3 of my cousins, whom I sometimes refer to as the Gnawlers. I think they mean boomers, because they are obsessed with fireworks. I'm not a fan of fireworks, never have been. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being passionate about something and occasionally taking it too far, as long as you keep things reasonable and considerate of others. Unfortunately, I don't think they do. My cousin's hobby even made the local news a few times. 100 kg illegal fireworks confiscated from a house. Fireworks were even found under the bed. Clearly, the authorities had no clue what they were talking about, and they believed everything was fully under control. Several years ago, I once raised the question, what if a fire were to break out? To which I was told, that never happens. There was no point in arguing with that level of ignorance. Minecraft, are you little kids? So after the announcement, the conversation during dinner turned to fireworks. Conversations went back and forth, and suddenly one of the spouses asked my girlfriend if we ever did something with fireworks. My girlfriend said no, but mentioned that we had a bit of an in-game fireworks tradition in Minecraft. When asked what she meant, my girlfriend explained that during New Year's Eve, we used to hack our Minecraft game so that the in-game clock would sync with the real-world local time. We'd then set up some in-game fireworks and effects that would launch at exactly 12 a.m. For the record, my girlfriend and I are in our 50s. The woman who asked was intrigued and thought it was a fun thing to do, but her husband quickly responded with snide, condescending comments. Minecraft? What the heck? That's a kid's game. How old are you two? Who are you to compare our work to that nonsense? His wife immediately retorted, Josh, that's not what she said. But this marked the beginning of the end. Another cousin, also obviously drunk, told us, you guys are pathetic, that has nothing to do with fireworks. How old are you? I lost my cool. Under the influence, I didn't hesitate to snap back. Well, we're beyond the age where children mock others for their hobbies. It seems like an achievement not everyone here has managed to accomplish. That certainly riled them up. It became even more amusing when Josh, told us that hobbies or not, it was still stupid to be playing kids' games at our age. I responded by telling him that in this kids' game, some people had even managed to build fully working 8-bit computers. My girlfriend told me to hush and keep my cool, and things calmed down a bit after that. Until another relative, a nice guy in his teens, I think, suddenly yelled out, OMG, Uncle Shell wasn't kidding? Would you look at this? The guy had grabbed his phone, looked it up, and found several YouTube videos. It was funny because this guy was a top student, and his parents were really proud of him. Yet he was the one yelling out in sheer admiration. For the record, the fireworks afterward were fun to look at, no question about it. But the numerous snide remarks afterward made us decide to leave the party early. Screw that. You have to step up, your cousins need you. 2 weeks ago, I received an email from an aunt of mine, which was odd because I never had much contact with that side of the family. Not before the Christmas festivities last year, and certainly not afterward. It turned out that my 2 cousins had been in a severe accident. They were hospitalized, and the email stated, "You need to call me to discuss visiting hours so we can set up the schedule." I ignored the email because I had no interest in visiting them, and it was also a 2-hour drive. However, I did send my own email to wish them well. Then last weekend, 1 week ago, I received a phone call. "Hey, Shell, why haven't you called me? Anyway, we set up the schedule without you. You need to visit the hospital on Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday evenings. We expect you at 19 o'clock sharp. Don't complain about the time. That's your fault for not calling me." I listened and couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Yeah, good luck with that. You can count me out." My response was met with several rude remarks. How dare I turn my back on my cousins who obviously needed my support? "Do they need me, or are you trying to force a connection for yourself?" I asked. That hit a nerve. As it turned out, my cousins had been playing with obviously not illegal fireworks long before it was even legal to use that stuff, and it blew up on them. I won't go into too many details for obvious reasons, but one lost a hand and the other lost an eye. And we're not talking about kids here, but grown-up guys, I think, well into their 30s. It's all your fault, you know. 2 days ago, I received a new email telling me that the new schedule had been prepared. I was expected to visit my cousins on the upcoming Tuesday, second Christmas Day, LMAO, Wednesday and Friday at 13 o'clock and 19 o'clock to make up for last week. The email continued, "It's all your fault this happened, you know, because people like you never believed in their amazing capabilities and always need to talk down on them." In response, I sent an email with a picture of the universal salute and blocked the involved email addresses entirely. I figured I'd vent a little about it here. The next one is an entitled parent story. I grew up in a household that was basically a hellhole for both me, 20F, and my mother, 48F. My father, 50M, had 2 children before me and 2 children after me, all boys he had with my mom. And because I was born right in the middle, I was singled out for a lot of stuff. A few examples. My dad would often ask each of us what we wanted from the store as a reward for doing well in school. My brothers always got what they wanted. I hardly got what I wanted. On birthdays, my brothers got to see whatever movies they wanted. I never got to choose the movie I wanted to see. If I asked for something for Christmas, I more than likely wouldn't get it unless it was from another family member. Whenever one of us started doing bad in school, I would always get the biggest punishments while my brothers got off easy. My dad allowed my brothers to watch him when he cooked so they could learn. I had to learn how to use things like the grill on my own. My brothers could wear swim trunks or a Speedo. I was only allowed to wear a one-piece swimsuit, which I hated because it made going to the bathroom awkward. Dad would always come and support my brothers whenever they had an event. Whenever I had one, all I would get was constant criticism. The worst one by far. Whenever my brothers got birthday or Christmas money, they'd spend it on candy, toys, clothes, etc. I wasn't even allowed by my father to touch my money, and I counted from when I was 7 to when I was 15. I had over $800 in cash that I was denied. This got way worse when I entered middle school. My older brothers, Matt and Kyle, not real names, realized I was being left out, and we talked about it with our little brothers. And now all of us include each other in our celebrations. But now, all of a sudden, my dad was constantly telling my brothers not to interact with me in any way and to pretend like I wasn't there. And then all of a sudden, my stuff started going missing. It started small with my pencil sharpener and a note card or something. Then, it escalated into my merchandise disappearing, and then my movies. And anything I bought with my own money would be gone the next day. Then when I confronted my dad about it, he didn't deny what he did and said he threw it all away because I'm growing up to be a housewife that doesn't need that crap. I told him I don't want to be a housewife, I want to get a real job. He then sent me to my room. And as I entered high school, I found that my swimsuits had been thrown out, a few of my cool shirts had been thrown out, even my phone had been thrown out. When I found out that that had been thrown out, I tried keeping it cool at school that day, but I just broke down in the middle of class. And when my parents found out about what happened, my dad kicked me out. My older brothers had graduated high school already and were living together to save money, so I went to stay with them. And I got therapy, and I eventually learned that my stuff wasn't thrown out. And that's when I learned the truth. My dad tried to throw it all out to groom me into becoming a housewife so he could marry me off to one of his co-workers. But when I broke down crying in school, he kicked me out so he didn't have to hear me because the moment I cried, he decided to abandon the plan and cover his tracks. You might be thinking where my mom was in all this. She did everything she could to help me, but her own husband wouldn't listen to her. I was the middle child, and he was entitled to everything regarding me because I'm his daughter, and if he wants this to be my life, this is my life. It's no wonder that me being kicked out led to them getting divorced. And if you're wondering about my little brothers, they want nothing to do with my dad and actively refuse to go to his house. And moving in with Matt and Kyle was easily the best decision I made. I learned that all my stuff was saved from the dumpster and put in a storage facility, and I got most of my stuff back. And the clothes that didn't fit me were sold by holding a yard sale. Matt and Kyle's backyard also had a pool and hot tub, and I was finally able to experience them in a bikini. Thanks to help from Mom and my little brothers, I was able to confess to my best friend, who is now my girlfriend. When I turned 18, I came out of my shell and got piercings in my ears, my navel, and my nipples. When I graduated, we celebrated it at Matt and Kyle's house. The whole family was there, except for Dad. Where was he anyway? He got arrested for a DUI car crash after being high on marijuana, and has been in jail for a few years now awaiting trial. Good. Duck him. I've now moved out of Matt and Kyle's, or rather just Matt's because Kyle moved out of the house, as they bought a house for me and my girlfriend, which of course had a pool and a hot tub. So to my dad, duck you for being absolutely awful as a parent, and duck you for being terrible to me because I was born in the middle. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.